Hello, welcome to a video walkthrough of my art show. My name is Suzanne Hale, and first of all, I want to thank you for having a look at this. I'm sharing with you about 22 original works and about half as many prints. All of the works are done on 100% cotton watercolor paper with professional grade paints and pigments, and as well as in terms there are prints available that are printed in Ottawa by a fine art photographer printer whose name is Raymond Massé, and you'll see he's really done a great job at preserving the luminosity in these paintings. Okay, so thank you again for coming, and I'm just going to work through these paintings with you. So this first image here is actually, the title is Glowstones, and these are rocks, but they're kind of certainly pigmented in a whimsical way. And there you see a little bit of crayon resist, and those kind of spiky little textures are salt. So when you add salt to the water of watercolor, you get some kind of secondary textures. So this painting, like most of the large paintings here, is framed at 16 by 20 inches with an archival conservation backing, acid-free mats, etc. And the price of this size of a print at 16 by, or sorry, this size of an original is 16 by 20 is $424. I do have series of works like these next two. So these are actually both of the same subject, and they're called the calling tree. So perhaps this has happened to you when you've had a tree that you feel is kind of calling to you in some way. So specifically, this one here on the left was, I don't know, I just felt drawn to this tree trunk. And so I took many photos of it and I painted actually from the photo, but this was a really quick painting, and it's kind of like an energetic rendition. But when it was finished, it wasn't quite what I was seeking to paint. I wanted to paint the darkness, which you can see, into the painting, but there was a specific form there that I was after. So I undertook to paint it again. And so now you can see that there's a specific form here that is kind of, to me, like a jaunty male figure who's very nature based, and just kind of coming at the world from that tree. So there's calling tree 1 and calling tree 2. Instead of the usual 425 for a framed original at 16 by 20, I would like to sell these as a series to someone else who really loves them, who loves the evocative nature of trees. And again, so instead of 425 each, I would sell this series. This has a series of 2 for $800. Okay, thank you. And they're framed in Merrickville. Actually, the frames come from Merrickville. I put the frames to get where the images into the frames, etc. Here is a slightly smaller image at 18 by 14, and this is called the Vietnamese fisherman. So as you look, you can see there's a kind of reflective quality and a kind of geography that is more reminiscent of Eastern Asia, Vietnam. And then there's the companion piece, which is something actually that was meant to be more evocative of our geography. So in the back, we see these trees, a kind of fall, maybe a tamarack tree or some kind of reddish hues from maple trees. And then if we look at this fisherman's boat, there's like, is that a fire in his boat, or is he carrying fire? Another little variation in this particular version is the silhouetted nature of the fisherman. He could almost be looking towards us, whereas we see in the silhouette of this fisherman, he is looking down into the water. And so for me, that's part of the fun of moving from one version to another, is kind of the subtle nature of how things transform. So here is another painting, and sure enough, it is part of a series. This is a seascape. Uh, and it was painted as part, well, the first one was painted as part inspired by a photograph, actually, a photograph that was said to be more of an abstract, and it's actually of a coast, somewhere along the coast in Israel. So my connection to Israel is that I have painted with a really dynamic group of painters led by Varda Barnier, who is based in Al Kafar, which is outside of Tel Aviv. And Varda leads a class of painters at 11 o'clock on Wednesdays. And I've been joining that group on and off for the last couple of years, actually. I guess in January, this would be the second year. And so it started with this abstract. Oh yes, I just wanted to add. So they come together by Zoom, although they have now the good fortune to come together in person and paint. And I join them by Zoom, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning on my time. And so now what I do is I just start my painting day. So I would have started with that painting first, and then come through and just I felt, well, no, it needs another iteration. So this would be the second one, and then the third one. And so now it's starting to look a little bit like a Canadian kind of rocky shore. I've heard some people say that they see, Parry Sound, Killbear, etc. So these are 18 by 14 inches with their mat. The actual image is about 13 by 9. And they would go into a frame that would be 18 by 14. These are the only originals that are not framed. I would like to sell them as a series. They would normally say be about $200 each, but I would sell the 4 of them together as a series for $700. With the acknowledgement that yes, well, you could frame them all together like this, or I suppose you could separate them, but really part of the fun, I think, is looking at how they are different and how they are similar. I apologize for that glare. They are in an acetate bag. Okay, a quick glimpse. This is a painting called The Singing Man, and this is actually a man who's singing his death song. Here are an example of one of the prints. And so if I just hold this in the light. So this is, normally the prints would be $60, but for the series of 4, I would sell them for $50 each. So it would be $200 for the series. And that is in a mat, which is 11 by 14. So that would go in a frame at 11 by 14. So quick view, these are more of the prints. The prints are, as I said, they're nicely done. I just want to get that glare out of there. There they are. And so this one is 11 by 14. It's also available as the original size, which is 16 by 20. Smaller size is $60, larger size is $120. These are the 2 of the calling tree. So I think I said then the 2 would be $100 rather than $60 each. And these ones, yeah, the fisherman also as a print. Okay, this is an original, and this is the largest original in the show, and it's called Fat Lilies. It looks a little, there's actually quite a bit of blue in here. So let's see, we're losing the blue. Anyway, on my website, you'll be able to see a more informed version of this with better, more true color, but there's a lot of blue in there. So 20 by 24 inches within the frame, and the price of this is $5.25. Yeah, the voluptuous lilies. This is not a painting. This is a collage, and it's a collage done on top of a map. And in fact, you can see if you look closely, that says Dawson City. So this is actually a tourist map of Dawson City, where I went to art school at the Kayak School of Visual Art. The Klondike Institute of Arts and Culture. Great place to go to art school. I mean, the Yukon is a really wonderful, very picturesque, dramatic place. Okay, so this is called colonial suspicion. So it's a self-portrait, and it's for me a time of my life when I really was kind of felt that I wanted to take ownership of something that didn't belong to me, and as a result I carried this feeling, this unshakable and uncomfortable feeling of suspicion. And so it was so much permeating me that I thought, oh, I'll put it in my self-portrait. And so that's what that is. And then, as we know now, right, we have these digital cameras. You don't even have to look through the camera to take the picture. So this kind of taking control of a whole physical environment and claiming it for yourself, but at the same time feeling suspicious that it doesn't really belong to you. Yeah, it's an important lesson. Okay, well, we might as well keep going with portraits. So here is an esteemed portrait of a conductor. So I call this the Maestro Conducts. It's made with Conte, which is a dustless, really dustless pastel. It's soft, but doesn't create a lot of dust. Um, and it's actually drawn on matte board. And then it's part of a series of these quick draws. So these were drawn very quickly in concert, actually while watching a concert on TV, saxophone player. And then here we have the horn section. And can you see that there are 3 musicians there? Um, so then I'll just there are 5 more here that are actually drawn while these musicians were performing in concert. This is a concert series I used to go to at Southminster United Church at Sunnyside and Bank. And I would draw during while the musicians were playing. And what I was really trying to draw, because they're always moving when they're playing, right? No musician is static, that I was trying to draw the intention of how they were focusing on their music. This gentleman was extraordinary. He had such a fine and beautiful touch as a pianist. But if we look at him, his intention is so, I don't know, not harsh, but kind of deep, penetrating. I think it's more, this is not what he looked like so much physically. It's more almost like an image of his interior. I don't know how else to explain it. This one, there's the funny little part of this is I got to the concert a little late, and as I was drawing, the concert ended. So there are some like yellows and things there, but the concert ended, and so that was the end of my drawing. Okay. These are the drawings that are simple. Like all these drawings are um, $40 each, and then the Maestro, who to me is really an example of leadership in the 21st century. It's not necessarily pretty, but it's real. And this man is called to work at the highest edge of his capacity. And I think that is what we are called to do now at this time as our society continues to evolve. And so yeah, he's offering leadership. And again, that he's called the Maestro Conducts, this picture, and it's 175. Okay, well, this is kind of the title piece in the show, and it's called Poppies, and that's what it is. And it's 16 by 20. It is sold. However, the good news is there's a little sister. So this is a print, again, put together by Raymond Massé. And he worked well to really keep the luminosity of it. And so this is in a mat that's 12 by 16 inches. It's $60 as a print, or if you wanted the larger full size, which is right here, is 16 by 20, and so that would be $120. Okay, we have a couple more prints coming this way. This one, which is a little lighter than that, that's probably about right. This is called The Family Tree. And so it's about the kind of connectivity of these two vital leaves that are almost touching, that have created this really beautiful, vital, strong root system. And then, oh, a little bud, and oh, a bigger, stronger leaf, and oh my goodness, a blossom. And so the whole thing comes together as a family tree. It's actually, the image is relatively small, 6 by 8 and a quarter inches, framed at 11 by 14 inches. There's a, probably looks about like that. And it's 220. That's available as a print. And then this is also a print and another tree, which I was surprised to see again days later. This kind of looks, it looks like a headdress. And it's called the Mystery Tree, and it's an 11 by 14 frame, and it's $250. And we're coming around the corner to a pet portrait. And this is of my very own, my dog, who I shared with Derek Fuller and Sophie, who passed away in June. But she holds this kind of sadness, although she could also be quite happy. So I look forward to do another portrait. As a posthumous pet portrait, it's not really meant to be completely real. So there's way less emphasis here on her body, her feet. It's more really the attitude and character that she brings forth. Okay. This is again an original. This one is called Kali in the Valley. And Kali, you may know, is actually a Hindu goddess of destruction in order to be a goddess of creation. So here we see this kind of dark descending storm, but we also see there's luminosity, and that's coming. And then there's these little funny little mythical creatures that, yeah, just kind of show up in these paintings. But that's you could say, the kinds of energetic influences that are around us all the time, but that we don't necessarily see or interpret as having any real significance. But perhaps when we combine them all together, they have quite a significance. So again, this is 16 by 20 and framed archivally, etc. It's $425, and prints are available. And one more pet portrait, or actually not a pet portrait. This animal is not a pet. This is a farm animal. Her name is Mama, and she is a living matriarch guard llama. She comes from what was my friend's alpaca farm. Judy Kingsbury was a farmer who really commissioned me and encouraged me to paint animal portraits and in general just paint. And so a shout out to Judy with lots of thanks. And Mama is in a, so the mat is 16 by 20. The frame is probably 20 by 24. And this image is, or this painting is for sale at $800. Okay, just a couple more to go. Okay, so speaking of kind of subtle, this actually is called Energy Rising. And this is a visual depiction of what it felt like for me when I learned how to do therapeutic touch. So therapeutic touch is energy-based healing that basically just seeks to balance the flow of energy. It could be within a person, an animal, a plant, um, basically a kind of, we are living creature, and that when energy is flowing in a balanced way, that's kind of a state of optimal health. So there's a great community of practitioners in Ontario who have been teaching and bringing therapeutic touch into the community for over 50 years. And so I got to learn with them and study, and I still practice therapeutic touch. Here's another little whimsical painting. It's called Grass Fairy, and it is sold, and it is framed um, at 14 by 17. And it's basically looking at the kind of vital energy within the grass. And so you also see these kind of spirals, turning spirals up, moving through the image. And that's just a kind of way to represent the moving energy. And that's her. Okay, so these are coming very to the end. These are actually both trees. And so the one here on my left, this is actually a couple of trees, a sumac tree, I think a kind of golden, it could be a maple tree, but and then there's actually a little bit, if you look in there, there's some green branches, which were a pine, kind of a coniferous tree. And here's the one you saw earlier, which is the family tree, and then the shaman, or not the shaman, but the mystery tree with a sort of headdress. Um, these two are $40 with 8 by 10 mat, and this is $50 and would fit in a 14 by 11 frame. Okay, I'm gonna try this. So I hope this works. I'm just want to say thank you. And that's really the bulk of my art show. There is a part two if you're interested, which would be a look downstairs at the portraits in process. So I'm kind of poised at the point of doing portraits of people, to say all those P's. So yes, if anyways, yeah, I'm going downstairs to share that, but this is the end of part one, and I just want to say thank you. Sharing my art really does make it feel real, and there will be better, perhaps a little more clear images on my website, which will be available with certainly before the end of April, um, hopefully before Easter. Okay, thank you again for watching, and perhaps I'll see you downstairs looking at the portraits in process.